On this week's show, the exact steps you need to take to set up a compliant deal sourcing business.
In the news, sellers are holding back on selling, but buyers are still very motivated to buy.
I don't even know what that means. And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. It's going to be a very interesting show because I feel like it's going to be a very Alistair Cunningham heavy show.
Is it? Well, today's topic is something I get asked about 10 times a day. How do you set up a deal sourcing business? I get this question fired at me constantly, every day, every time we're at an event, and so we just thought we'd address it.
Well, it makes sense.
However, before we do that, what have you been up to?
Do you know, I've been learning French.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
That's not, what were you supposed to say after that?
Ça va?
Ça va? Qu'est-ce que avez-vous?
I don't know what that means.
Cool.
Do you speak a little bit of French?
A little bit.
So I'm just learning at the moment. I've got an app called Duolingo.
Okay.
And it's teaching me. So I'm doing the basics, I'm doing greetings. So I can say things like, salut, comment t'appelles-tu?
Okay.
And then you have to say to me, je m'appelle Alistair.
Je m'appelle Alistair.
Yeah.
No, what was that?
That's me saying hello. What's your name?
Okay.
I can say good evening. I can say good morning.
Okay.
I can say
see
you tomorrow.
Why did you pick French?
Because my kids are learning French at school.
Cool.
I did French very badly at school, so I know a little bit about the accent and the very basics. So I just thought I want to learn language. I'm going to Paris next week.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What are you going to Paris for? Just
Holiday?
have a look, just for a few
Weekend
days
away.
Weekend away. Oh wow.
Weekend away.
Nice.
Go to Paris.
Nice.
Catching the train. Eurostar. 2 hours to get there from London.
I know. Bang on.
Can't be bad.
It's nice.
So I'm just so I've spent a few hours every day. No, probably not every day. I'm probably spending about half an hour a day on that.
Okay.
But it's really good. It's actually really, really good. And
Yeah,
I feel like I'm
good.
getting a real grip of the basics.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Enchanté. You're welcome.
Merci.
Thank you.
Hey. Good.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Right, good.
Anyway.
Okay, so let's crack on. So deal sourcing. I get asked this daily.
Oui.
Literally every day. I must get 10, 15 messages every day. How do you set up a deal sourcing business?
All right, so let's go through. Let's go
step by step. Come on.
So let's pretend, right? You are stripped. Not your clothes. You can keep your clothes on, but stripped of everything.
Yeah.
You're starting again to become a deal source. Actually, that would make quite a good doc. Do you know how Sammy does his challenges? Maybe that could make a good doc. The life of a deal sourcer. He's stripped of everything you own.
Yep. I'll be up for it. Always am. Right, anyway, step one.
You're up for anything.
Of course I am. Okay, you need 3 things to be a deal sourcer.
3 things, okay.
Yep, 3 things.
What's the first
thing? You need investors.
That's the first thing you need.
Well, no, there's no particular order here, but you need all 3 to succeed.
Okay.
So the first thing, again, no particular order, but one of the things you're going to need is investors.
First things first, investors.
Second thing you're going to need is you're going to need to be able to find and secure good deals.
Okay.
Third thing you're going to need is you're going to need to have a legal framework, paperwork, compliance, terms and conditions, contracts, etc. in place to facilitate everything.
Okay. So let's assume that we can find deals and that we can find investors.
Yeah.
How do we become compliant?
Right. Compliance is crucial. You must do it. You are essentially trading as an estate agent, so you have to be compliant as such, and you have to run your business as such. So a couple of things you're going to need is, first thing, and this is in no particular order. You have to do all of them. So I'm going to read them off as they come to my head.
So what's the first thing you need to do?
Property redress scheme. You have to be a member of the property ombudsman. So there's 2 you can join.
So what, can I just ask you, like, what does that for anyone that's watching this?
Yep.
A redress scheme?
Right. Okay.
Well,
so property redress scheme is an ombudsman, and they are essentially, if you think about it, there's you, the investor, and then there's the ombudsman that sit above you. They're an intermediary, and if something goes wrong and you've not followed your end of the bargain, the investor can go to them and say, hey, this in business has not done what they said they were going to do, I would like to make a complaint, and I'd like you to look into them. So what will happen is the intermediary will come along, and then they'll investigate. And
then they'll turn around to you and they'll go, hey, Alistair, you're out of line.
Yeah.
Give them their money back.
Or they'll make a judgment call. They'll investigate from an impartial point of view, and they'll make a call on it.
And if you say no, they kick you out?
Yeah, pretty. Okay. Part of it is, to be a legal deal sourcer, you have to be part of a redress scheme. There's two. There's two. There's the property ombudsman and there's the property redress scheme. You have to be a member of one of them to be legally compliant. So yes, if they make a judgment and you refuse it, they have the power to disbar you from their service. If they disbar you from your service, you then can't trade legally. So yes.
Could you join the other one?
I wouldn't say so, no. I think if you've been disbarred from one, you're disbarred from both. But again, I've never had this problem, so I wouldn't know, to be honest.
You've never been disbarred?
Well, I've never had any issues with the TPO, so...
Yeah.
But first thing first, you've got to join either the property ombudsman or the property redress scheme.
And so the reason for that as well, rather than just telling people what it is, like, yeah, you got to join this scheme. It's like, let's explain why you've got to do it. So the reason for doing that really is just, it protects the anyone buying from you. It just protects them. It just means that you can't
You've got to treat them fairly
because these guys will come in and
to be a member of said company, TPO or PRS, you've got to follow their code of conduct. You've got to follow their code of ethics, and it just means that the person buying off you are buying from a reputable company, and this company TPO are going to monitor it to make sure that you are doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
So if let's just say this investor goes to them and says, look, this guy's not done what he said he was going to do. And you followed the correct complaints procedure. So you've initially spoke to the deal sourcer and said, hey, I'm not 100% happy about this. Can we sit down and discuss this? And let's just say they completely ignore you and they just completely say, no, do you know what? Screw you. I've got your money. I don't care about you. You then go to this company then overlook everything and say, boom, they make a judgment call. So they're there to protect both parties. Yeah. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing.
It is a good thing.
So that's the first thing. TPO,
and likewise, then, if you're buying from a deal sourcer, again, you make sure they're a member of the team.
So we'll go through some musts at the end of the session. We'll go through things to do your due diligence on deal sources, what you need to do.
So, redress screen, TPO.
Yeah.
Boom. Next
thing, you need to register with anti-money laundering registration, and that's online. That's on HMRC's website. Again, it is completely necessary. There's no option here. You have to do it. Property is the number one vehicle for money laundering, so you have to be a member of the AML scheme, which stands for the Anti-Money Laundering Registration Scheme. Okay, so it's AML, have to do it, and basically you just have to know where the funds are coming from, and you have to make sure that the person you're dealing with is who they say they're dealing with. There's all sorts of checks you have to do. When you register, you're going to need a government gateway, and you're going to need a UTR, which is a unique tax reference for your business. So go onto HMRC website, register. That takes, to do all the compliance, to set it all up, you can do it in a morning, but you've got to wait for the applications to come back and things like that. So typically 6 to 8 weeks. But you actually doing work and actually jumping on a computer and registering and doing all the form filling, you could do it easily in the morning. So that's the next thing, anti-money laundering. After that, there's insurance.
So step 1, TPO.
Yeah, so just remember, these are not in any particular order. You have to do them all.
You have to do them all before you start. But step 2, anti-money laundering.
Anti-money laundering.
Step 3.
Insurance. You're going to have to be professionally insured. So you have to have professional indemnity, public liability, and if you're using your vehicle for going out to do viewings, that will have to be insured as well because you're using it as a business.
So you need to ring your insurance company and say, hey, I'm using my vehicle for business as well.
Just tell them you're using it for business, but make sure you're insured on all aspects. And over-insure as opposed to under-insure, it's much easier. Now, there's a company called DCIB in Hartford, and that's Richard O'Neill. He has a proper insurance package just for deal sourcing. So they know the sort of insurance you want. They've got a package set up for it, which is very handy. So yeah, Google that company, jump in with them. They're really good. So you need to be insured correctly. After that, you now need a data protection license because you're handling people's data, passports, bank statements, etc., etc., etc. You have to be registered to do so legally, and that's just jump onto ico.org.uk and you can register for there. Okay, and the fifth thing you're going to need is you're going to have to set up a limited company, and you're going to have to make sure that's all set up properly.
Now, unfortunately, that does take hours and hours and hours and hours and cost a lot of money to do.
Yes, you have to go to an accountant, pay £600. No, $17.99. Companies made simple, really, really easy. Do it now. Be set up in 2-3 hours. When you're doing that, the SIC code, the SIC code, is 68310, and that's for real estate agency. That's the code you're going to have to use.
You remember it in your head?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. What is it again?
68310.
There you go.
Okay, so just to recap, number one, get your number one.
PRS.
Hold on. So just to recap, number one, you need PRS or TPO. You can register with one or the other. Number two, set up anti-money laundering on HMRC website. Number three is insurances. Make sure you're insured correctly. Number four is data protection license. Number five is
Limited company.
Limited company. Now, number six, there is a number six.
Oh.
It's not the compliance part yet. That's not the formalities. You can do all this first, but then you have to work on other stuff. So you're going to need things such as terms and conditions. You're going to need a risk assessment, policy method, and policy statement. And you're going to need all sorts of terms of business. So when people come on board, you can give them proper terms and conditions and terms of business so they know where they stand. You need all of it to be compliant. So you cannot sell a deal legally until you've got all of this in place. Now, a lot of people say, well, look, I could just register with PRS and then I can sell deals. Look, on your head be it. That's all I'll say. If you choose to do it that way, you are breaking the law. So you've got to avoid doing that. You must set up everything and do everything, have everything in place before you sell your first deal to an investor for a fee.
Awesome. Controversial one.
Okay.
Co-deal sourcing.
Right.
Talk about it.
Again, this is a question I get asked a lot. There's many people say you have to be compliant to co-deal source. There's many people say that. There's many people don't say that. I've had it. I've got it in paper, in writing from a very well-known property solicitor saying that you do not need to be compliant to co-deal source.
It just makes sense that you don't. To me, it's just obvious that you don't. Yep. It's ridiculous. And I see so many people banging on about it on, oh no, you both need the full... Of course you don't. Because that person's the person selling the deal.
Yeah.
And you are just passing them the lead.
That's like saying that if you have a deal sourcing business, every member of staff in the company has to be compliant.
Yeah.
It's just not the case.
It's just nuts.
And do you know what? I would rather have the solicitor that's told me standing next to me in court than my mate down the pub who says you have to be compliant.
You're not selling the deal. Yeah. They're selling the deal, and then they're giving you a commission
at the end.
Yeah.
At the end of the deal, when it's completed, they're just saying, "Do you know what? Thanks for finding that deal. Send me an invoice and I'll pay you some money."
Yeah.
So yeah, and like I said, I've got it in writing from a very, very well-known, very respected solicitor that says, under no circumstances do you have to be compliant to co-deal source. Another thing that's interesting, rent-to-rent deal sourcing. Do you have to be compliant for that?
Well, you're not selling, are you?
You're not selling, exactly. You're not selling. Now, I don't do rent-to-rent deal sourcing, so I'm not saying yes or no. However, again, there's many people say you're not actually transferring ownership of a property, so you don't actually have to be compliant. And that's what's caught. There's been certain rent-to-rent deal sources that have been, that have been a little bit unethical in how they're doing things, and they've that's how they've got around it, because they don't need to be compliant because the ombudsman can't get involved.
Very interesting.
But I don't know how true that is. I don't get involved with rent-to-rent deal sourcing. We don't do it. And even if we did do it, our company is completely compliant. So anyone that I work with, anyone that I deal with, anyone that comes through the mentoring, anything like that, we teach them compliant. Just become compliant. Then there's no
I was going to say, personally, for me, regardless of the legalities, I think your limited company
100%
goes without saying.
Yeah.
I think the PRS goes without saying.
Everything goes without saying.
When you go down the list,
everything,
T's and C's, whether or not it was legal or not, you'd want to do that. But that's the way this. But I think I think what we teach is obviously the legals, but also the fair way of doing it.
Yeah.
I think the people that say that the co-deal sourcing and all that, it's just people that normally, what do they sell? Like contracts, licenses. They've got. I think people that teach that tend to have an agenda. Yeah. And the agenda is, because people make money from red tape.
Yeah, of course they do.
People make money
from
red tape.
People love red tape, don't they? They use red tape as a reason never to do anything. And like, it surprises me, like some fairly sort of people that have made good money from deal sourcing are putting people off doing it because you can't call deal source unless you're compliant.
It's because they're scared of competition.
Do you think? Okay.
I think it's because they don't want lots of people doing it. I hear a lot of people say, people have come to me and said, stop teaching everyone how to do deal sourcing because everyone's going to do, everyone's making money from it. And I'm like, yeah.
It's not a bad thing, is it? There's enough deals out there. And the reality is not everyone's making money out of it. Not everyone's doing it full time. Not everyone's doing it that well. There's a lot of people doing it well, but there's not many people doing it. There's not many people selling and passing on multiple deals on a weekly basis. There's just not. There ain't. There's probably nowhere near what you think. There might be lots of people doing 1 or 2 deals a month, or maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As it suits their needs. So
it's like any business. Competition is a good thing because what competition will do is it will force more people to be. Because if there's lots of people doing it, it will just push the standards up. That's
a good thing. Unfortunately, there's in our industry, there's a lot of mediocre deal sourcers, and it's not. Listen, I'm not here to criticize anybody. Perhaps the deals are not the best, and they're trying to force the deal. And if you have to force the deal, it's never going to be that good.
I think it's important when you buy from a deal source. I've used deal sources, right? But I think it's important that you know what you're doing. You're not buying from a deal source. And by the way, this doesn't apply to deal source. This applies to everything, right? Because at the end of the day, it's your money, it's your investment. Same as it's your business. If you run a business, you can't just outsource the marketing.
No,
and just
you
go,
need to understand
we'll let that marketing agency do it because I don't really understand marketing. You sort that. It will be crap.
Yeah.
If you don't understand accounts, you're just like, well, just pass that to Greg. It will be crap. If it's your deal, if it's your business, you need to take ownership for it. You need to understand it. You can't just be like, just pass it on to a deal sourcer because you need to understand. You need to go through it. You need to check it. You need to know that it's good. They'll do the legwork for you.
Yeah.
But it's not an excuse for you to just be like, I'll just trust them. It'll be good.
Do you know, I don't really have this issue with my investors, to be honest, but I do know a lot of people that have got these issues when they're buying off deal sources. And I hear so many horror stories where they've bought off a deal sourcer thinking like it's a guaranteed this, guaranteed that. Nothing is guaranteed.
No.
Think about this. What is a deal sourcer doing?
They're
finding you a deal, they're doing the legwork, and they're doing all the viewings for you. So that deal sourcer might have looked at 20 houses to find one. Now think about this. Is that, if you've got to go out and look at 20 houses to find one, and they charge you a $2,000 fee, really, how valuable is your time?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I would pay that.
Even deals that I find myself or you find yourself, it's not guaranteed.
We don't know nothing's for sure. Guaranteed. All a deal source is doing is they're going out finding the deal, they're doing the legwork, they're doing the inspections, they're making sure that the DD's there, presentable, they're presenting you with the due diligence. It's up to you to make an informed decision.
Of course.
So you still need to know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And nothing is guaranteed from a deal sourcer. What I would recommend, some tips, like if you're using a deal sourcer, whoever that may be, it doesn't have to be us, it can be whoever you want, it doesn't matter. Right? There's some things you need to put in place to make sure that they're trading legally, and 2, going to do the right thing by you. The first thing is ask for all the compliance numbers. It should be displayed. It should be visible. It should be easily accessible. They should be able to give you things like their anti-money laundering registration number.
They normally put that on their website.
Yeah, well, on mine, it's on Better Sourced. It's on the website. All the dates, the insurance brokers on there, the policy numbers, the anti-money laundering license numbers on there, the TPO numbers, it's all on there. Everything's on there. And it is up to us to make sure we're compliant. It's up to you to make sure that you're buying off a compliant deal sourcer. So that's the first thing, is make sure that whoever you're buying from, they're compliant. They're legally there. They're trading legally. Because you want recourse if something goes wrong. Okay. So ultimately you're thinking about what happens if this goes wrong. Where can I go and what can I do? What route of redress I've got? Second thing is you need to make sure the terms and conditions are in place and that they're fair. That they're fair for you and fair for them. Because our terms and conditions lay out very, very clearly what happens if. So what happens if the deal falls through and it's no fault of the investor? What happens if the investor says, do you know what? I've actually changed my mind. I'm not going to buy this house anymore. Because as a deal sourcer, should I lose out because you change your mind after 2 months?
No,
I shouldn't lose out, and I'm not going to lose out. If you change your mind after 2 months because your strategy's changed or because you don't want to invest any more money, then I'm not going to lose out. Likewise, if you buy a deal off me and the week before completion, the vendor says, whoa, I'm not going to sell my house anymore, you shouldn't lose out. So then we have a conversation, say, look, what do you want to happen now? My key to being a good deal sourcer is reputation. Have a good reputation and do the right thing by the investor. But likewise, we're not going to just be like walked over because of our reputation. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to have investors just walk over us because they're scared that we're going to get a bit of bad press or something like that. It's not what it's about. It's got to be a fair win-win for both parties if something goes wrong. But the terms and conditions...
You are very fair.
I'm ridiculously fair. I've just given somebody a refund after 6 months because he had to pull out of a deal because there was ongoing issues with it, with the property. Now, I'm not saying, listen, we run a very good deal sourcing business. We're very ethical. We're very above board, right? But things go wrong. That's what happens. It's business. Things go wrong. And it's about how you deal with them. So we've dealt with them. And do you know what we said? We sat down with him and said, look, what do you want to happen? And he said, you know what? I'm happy just to shake hands, walk away as friends and just take some money back. So we come up with an arrangement and we given him most of his feedback. And he's walked away. Happy days. He'll use us again. And it is what it is. So my point being is make sure terms and conditions lay out exactly what happens if. And remember that. What happens if. And also on the terms and conditions, what's your complaints procedure? Make sure that there's a clear line and a clear step-by-step. What happens if? Who do I complain to? And that should also be displayed on the website. So number 1, check for compliance. Number 2, check for the paperwork, terms and conditions, and everything else is in place. Number 3, make sure they're invoicing properly. And if they're VAT registered, make sure they are VAT registered. I know another deal sourcer who was charging VAT and he's not VAT registered. I know. It's like, come on, this is so basic. This is business 101. If you're going to charge VAT, you have to be VAT registered. You have to display your VAT number. End of. So
it beggars belief.
Just check that the company number on the invoice relates to the company that's selling you the deal. Check that the VAT number relates to that company. Check that you're not paying an overseas account. Just come on, this is basic 101. It's really, really simple. So check for compliance, check for paperwork, check for that all the numbers stack up and that the addresses and all that are there. And listen, compliance is not overly difficult, but again, it needs a bit of effort and a bit of time.
And you're looking at about $1.5 to $2,000.
Yeah, it's about 1,500-1,600 quid.
Yeah.
They've just put the price of anti-money laundering up. I think that's $490 now. It was $300, but that's all gone up. So listen, maximum couple of grand by the time you get terms and conditions in place, all that sort of stuff. So allow £2,000. But like to set up a successful deal sourcing business, you need 3 things: investors, deals, compliance, and legalities. Yeah. Get your legalities sorted out. Investors, get out networking. We talked last week about finding investors. We talked about how to go about creating them and finding them and building a list of investors.
A couple of weeks ago.
Get outside, a couple of weeks ago. Get outside, get out to networking events, get to seminars, get to events, start speaking to people, tell them what you do, start promoting yourself. And just tell everyone what you do and be proud of it. Deals, get great at finding deals. Get yourself along to the crash course. We'll show you how to find deals. And then come along to some follow training.
There you go. It's now time for this. Okay, so in the news this week, Alistair found a very interesting article about sellers are sellers and buyers are buyers.
Come on, dude, that's not what I said. I said sellers are holding back on selling, but buyers are still incredibly serious about buying. So what's happening due to Brexit, and they think Brexit's the cause, sellers are holding back and they're not selling because they want to wait and see what happens. But buyers are still motivated and they're still actively looking to buy investment properties, which is interesting. So it's in the Express. So the title is House Prices UK, Sellers Holding Back Amid Brexit, but buyers are still very serious. As the old sayings go, when in doubt, do now. According to latest data, it appears that many prospective homeowners up and down the country are currently doing exactly that, nothing. The latest house price index suggests that the usual autumn bounce, usually in September and October, so people can get completed on a transaction for Christmas, has failed to materialise this year for many parts of the UK. Unsurprisingly, Brexit is to blame. So basically,
as of recording this, just so you guys know, as of recording, like we are a pre-August, end of August.
Yeah.
So as of you watching this,
End of August.
End of October.
End of October.
As of you watching this, like we don't know actually. Like
No, we don't know.
you're probably slightly ahead of us because we don't actually know. Has Brexit happened?
No, who knows? Who knows?
Well, they do because they're watching it.
Who cares? Who cares? Do we know? Do we care?
I don't know.
We can't say that. We can't say that. Marie would kill us for that. Marie, our etiquette woman, she goes, you should never say things that you don't care about Brexit. Makes you look uneducated and that you don't give a shit. Sorry, bro. Right, so go back to your bit.
So, I mean, you guys are watching it. You guys are watching this, and there's obviously something's happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't really know. I mean, I'm sure. So, you guys probably do know, but we don't know the ramifications. I've had a conversation with top lawyers, top bankers, everything here in London, and basically that they come back to me with the same message of, number one, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And number two, depending on what happens, we don't know what the impact of that is going to be. Mm-hmm. So I can understand why sellers are not wanting to sell right now, where they're not sure. On the other hand, I actually thought it would be the other way around.
I did as well.
I thought sellers would be wanting to sell
offload quick
in case something happens, and then buyers would be like, it's interesting that I wonder why sellers aren't wanting to sell what buyers are wanting to buy.
I wonder if buyers are buying for the reason that sellers are the opposite. Like, buyers are probably trying to buy because they want to get as low as possible because maybe they think prices are going to go up.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I would imagine sellers are looking to offload because I think the consensus is property is going to go down a little bit initially.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
I imagine with the news like that, there's going to be some movements.
But this
significant
news would suggest
very
it's going to go up. Sellers are trying to hold on, buyers are trying to buy. Interesting. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? Well, we'll find out very soon. No, I don't. Listen, we're not educated enough to know. I mean, if some of the smartest analysts in the country cannot work this out, and like
no one knows.
No one knows.
Everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah,
but no one knows.
But most of these people's opinions come from the media, which are obviously biased, very biased to whatever the agenda they support. So
the media tends to report what people want to hear.
Yeah.
So if they get the impression that people don't like Brexit,
they go with what suits that agenda.
They'll do that. If they get the impression people do, so you don't know.
Nobody knows. All we can do is sit back, wait, see what happens, and then adapt, get creative, and move our business to suit whatever happens. That's all we can do.
There you go. That summed it up quite well. Right, it's now time for our Q&A. Hopefully during the Q&A there were no questions about the B word. Okay, so it's now time for your questions and our answers. These are primarily from the Property Investors with Samuel Leeds Facebook group. So if you're not a member, please do go and join. So first question is from Benjamin Whitehead.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Ben. Whitehead. We're so immature. How do we run a business?
I have no idea.
He says, will the same strategies and tactics work in Australia, mate?
Down under, yeah. Listen, property investing is the same throughout the world. Essentially, you take a property, you invest in it, and you rent it out. It works across the world.
Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't
Nick,
change.
If you put in micro content together, they've got that dictionary definition of property investment right there. It doesn't change.
Property investment across the world does not change. It's the same fundamentally. The strategies might vary city to city, but I've got a friend of mine he lives in the UK. He's an Australian. He lives in the UK. He's got like 35 houses in like Brisbane, Adelaide, places in Australia, and he rents some of them out as service accommodation, like as his holiday let. They let for 2-3 like holidays, and they're on the beach, and some of them are just single let apartments. He doesn't do any HMOs out there, but he's got mid-30s houses out there, and they're all very, very successful, and he's got a mixture of single buy-to-lets and service accommodation style holiday lets.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does work.
The rules and stuff change a little bit.
But you just have to familiarise yourself with local legislation.
But the strategies,
100%.
The main strategies and tactics, yes, they work. They apply everywhere, pretty much. So, yes, they do, Benjamin. Okay, so hi. How do we form a partnership with someone and make the crash course? What do I need to be aware of and who to get involved? Thanks.
Okay, so if you're going to do a partnership, I assume it's in a limited company. Make sure it's in a limited company, not sole traders. And make sure you have very, very clear understanding and have a contract in place of who's responsible for what and what you're doing, what you're bringing, what they're bringing. So literally just sit down.
Personally, I wouldn't rush into a partnership.
You wouldn't?
No,
never would I. I would just sit down with them and say, look, what are you bringing to the table? What am I bring to the table? What's your responsibilities? What's my responsibilities? What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Simple as.
You
get it
could
drawn
have,
up.
You could have like your company and their company that work together.
Yeah.
But I personally wouldn't rush. I don't know, it depends what it is, but
yeah, I just think you've
it's
got
like a marriage. A business partnership is like a marriage. And would you rush into getting married?
No.
Would you?
No, I agree with you, but I just think you need to be super clear from the offset, from very, very early days, who's responsible for what and who does what within the business. Because I've seen so many partnerships start off really well and then very quickly end up in disaster because one person's doing more than the other, or one person brings more money, or one person does that. So make sure very, very early on you've got it contracted and you know who's doing what within the business.
Yeah, cool. Makes sense. So there you go. I would definitely, if you're going to go into a partnership, we were actually looking at partnering with someone. It probably won't happen actually, but it's a solicitor's job, isn't it? You want
100%. Yeah, solicitors do everything. Yeah.
You draw. It's similar to a lease option. You draw up your heads of terms. You agree heads of terms with them. Go to your solicitor. Get it drawn up. All right. Next, Carl James. Is Hartlepool a good area to invest for single lets? I've done my numbers. They stack. Not 20% ROI, but close. Do you have any opinions on the area? Would you invest there as a good ROI, but not a lot of growth? I know I can't have the best of both. Thanks, guys. I love the podcast.
Hartlepool, do you know, I've got a few investors that have got HMOs in Hartlepool, and they seem to do all right, but it's mainly DSS tenants. So it depends what sort of tenants you're looking for. I'm not overly familiar with Hartlepool, so you'd have to do your due diligence, but it sounds like you have done your due diligence. Only you can make that decision. Go and have a look, go up to the area, get to know the area, go meet some agents, go out and have lunch with them, ask them to view some houses with you, and just make sure you've done your due diligence on the area before you commit. But I know an investor that's got 3 or 4 HMOs up there, but they are DSS HMOs, so that they're not privately rented.
Cool. So there you go. To be honest, I'm not really sure. Mm-hmm. I've don't own anything in Hartlepool. Don't know much about Hartlepool. A service charge on a flat. This is from CJ Bree. A service charge on a flat I'm looking at is $125 a month. It is an old property, but should I be worried? That seems a lot, doesn't it?
It does seem quite high. What does that include?
I don't know.
It depends what that includes.
Is there a swimming pool?
Do you know? Interestingly, I've got a swimming pool in my apartment, but I don't have a service charge for my building. It's all included in the rent.
It does seem quite high.
Yeah, it does seem very high. So look, I would be asking what it's
depends
included.
Where it is. Birmingham's really high.
Is it?
Yeah.
And make sure your numbers stack. If your numbers work out, and including that, and you're happy with it, then go for it. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know. It depends what's included in service charge. What's the question? What should she be worried?
Should he be worried about it?
Yeah, or should he be worried? Sorry, I have no idea. I would look into more what it's actually for, what the likelihood of it ever being increased, because service charges they do have a habit of just putting up with giving you 6 months notice or whatever. So yeah, they can just increase as and when.
Sounds like they've already done that.
Yeah.
Ricky Cole says, what are your thoughts on the council banding of HMO rooms? Will you forward this cost straight to the tenants?
That's difficult because when you have HMOs, it's generally an all-in price, isn't it? One price for the room covers everything, so you can't really...
You normally only get screwed when you have like a kitchenette, en suites, you know. Do
you remember we had that investor from Dudley?
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about? I don't want to name it, but you know, yeah. She had six bedroom HMO.
Yeah, I remember it well.
She ended up getting screwed. All 6 bedrooms got done for council tax
because they're all en suites.
All en suites, and they had kitchenettes. So the council, the council just basically done it, and she had no control over it. She then had to appeal it, and it took 8 months to get sorted out. She lost.
Lost the appeal.
All 6 bedrooms get individually council taxed, and that was really affecting the ROI. It was costing a lot of money.
It crippled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think I'd be like looking at other options, which is why when you do HMO SA, you always need to look at other options as well. I do know someone recently who had the same problem. They fought it and won.
Oh, bang on, good.
So you can fight it and win. Just be careful.
Yeah, 100%.
Be careful on adding kitchenettes and en suites. It's one of the negs.
Yeah, 100%.
One of the negs. But it's a bit of a joke that they charge it for a room.
Yeah, no.
Hey guys, after pitching an LOA, the seller has gone away to think about it and run the numbers. How long would you recommend till I follow up with a quick message? A couple of weeks perhaps?
Yeah, I would give them time to think about it. You don't want to be that hassling person that calls them constantly. So just give them a couple of weeks and then just give them a follow-up message. Say, hey, I'm just giving you a call to see if you've had any chance to think about it, if you've got any questions or if you've got any concerns or anything like that. Remember,
you don't want to look desperate, do you?
No, I don't look desperate, but hey, remember, look, here's my solicitor's details. Go and give them a chat if you want to discuss any legalities. I would avoid answering any legalities at this point. You're not a legal professional, so you can't answer from a completely impartial point of view.
Just hand it on.
Just hand it on to solicitor and get the solicitor to deal with it. But also remember, the solicitor is not there to sell it for you. They're there to advise the vendor of their legal obligations and if it works for them or not.
Cool. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks ever so much for tuning in. We'll be back next Saturday at 7 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you there. Please don't forget to tune in. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys. Thank you.